The 49ers just lost to Geno Smith. They're 5-5, and Kyle Shanahan officially is on the hot seat. How's it going, everyone? Sorry, that's a rude question. Probably not that good. Your team just lost to Geno Smith. That's a bad feeling for anyone. But I don't root for this team. I'm here to critique it. They're 5-5. They're in last place in the NFC West. They've blown fourth quarter leads to every single team in their division. As we all say, that's the mark of a Super Bowl contender. Blowing leads to all your divisional opponents. So let's start with the head coach, the guy who is responsible for this debacle, not of a game, of a season, Kyle Shanahan. So me and him got into it on Friday. That's where this story starts. I asked Kyle Shanahan about hand signals, which is a subtopic of audibles. Pre-snap control for one Brock Purdy. Kyle Shanahan didn't like the question. He said that one, the answers are built into the play call. Then he said, sometimes he gives Brock two plays in case the answers aren't built into the original play call, which is a contradiction. If the answers are built into the play call, why would you ever send more than one to Brock? The answers are there. Right there. He just has to find them in the play call. That's perfect that you made. But no, he sends two to Brock just in case the perfect play isn't perfect. I don't understand Kyle's logic. He's a walking contradiction and no one ever talks about it. Okay, fine. He sends him two just in case, just to be overly cautious. Here's two plays. I was charting. I'm de facto self-appointed quality control. I'm charting. How many times does Brock Purdy go, can? That means we're going to the second play Kyle called. How many times? I counted. Once. It was in the fourth quarter. He went, can, and then he pitched the ball to Christian McCaffrey going left. Who could see that one coming? And he lost a yard. So Kyle Shanahan's audible system averaged -1 yard per play in this particular game. That's high-level stuff. So that's a small thing. His offense stunk. He didn't give his quarterback freedom, control. That's not good. Gave up another lead to a divisional opponent. He stunk in pretty much every way a coach could stink. And then to add the little gravy on top, the cherry on top, just when Kyle Shanahan's starting to look like Denzel Washington at the end of training day, where everyone's sort of circling around him, and he's like, oh, okay, I see I have no allies here. Kurt Benkert, his former quarterback who was on the Niners practice squad for a minute and a half or whatever, is a very smart guy and a very influential YouTuber and social media presence and former NFL quarterback who knows the freaking offense. And I mean, he can talk about the Niners audibles or the quarterbacks control the line of scrimmage much better than I can. Here's what he tweeted 2 hours ago. The Niners offense doesn't adjust protections. They just throw hot. Other teams know this and can force their hand in critical situations, just like we saw in the Super Bowl last year. It's mind-blowing stuff that a simple flipper would fix. I don't know what he means by flipper, but this comment is it's a quote tweet of Ted Wynn, who does a great job, saying Purdy forced to throw hot on 3rd and 11 when a first could have iced the game. Now, if you don't know what this jargon means, a hot throw usually is a very quick throw against a blitz. So instead of trying to pick up the blitz, if they rush 6, blocking with 6 or 7, no. Just throw a quick pass to a guy running a hot route. That's usually a 4-yard route. So on 3rd and 11, if you don't pick up the blitz and you throw hot, that's what the defense wants you to do. They want you to throw a 4-yard pass on 3rd and 11, and that's what Brock Purdy did. He hit Jawan Jennings, who gained 4 yards and went backwards. That's a win for the defense. Hot routes are great for like 3rd and 2. But on 3rd and 11, when a 4-yard throw just won't cut it, why are you not blocking with 7? You have McCaffrey in the backfield and 5 offensive linemen. How about McCaffrey and a tight end? How about actually pick up the blitz, give the quarterback more than a half a second to throw the ball so he can get it past the first down marker? That's what Kurt Benkert is saying. Don't take it from me. Then he follows up. This is him. There's a happy medium in my opinion. Some plays do not need a protection change, and it makes sense to go fast and throw hot. While on critical downs, you should only be calling the best play possible, and there should be a few tools for every quarterback to get the edges protected the right way. This is what Jordan Love does so well on third downs, especially in the red zone. During my time in San Francisco, this was the number one thing that made no sense to me. If there is a clear and easy answer, why not empower, great verb, your quarterback to get you into the best protection, especially if he's smart? This stems back to Shanahan's history as a receiver, in my opinion, instead of from seeing it through the lens of a quarterback. But what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber. Well, that's pretty damning. Okay, so that's a former NFL quarterback explaining in NFL terms while Kyle Shanahan's offense is suboptimal against the blitz. We all knew that. We saw it in the Super Bowl. He'd be a champion right now if it was optimal. Okay, so that's just part of it. Then there's personnel usage. Christian McCaffrey comes back, clearly not the guy he was last year. We'll get to him in a minute. Jordan Mason, still on the team, averaging 6.5 yards a carry today, 2 carries. Did the Seahawks a favor not using Jordan Mason. Gave a carry to Deebo Samuel, who hasn't been an effective runner on any play, in the backfield, on an end around, on a jet sweep, doesn't matter, hasn't been effective at that all season. He got a carry. So it's not a meritocracy, the team. Deebo gets carries no matter what because he's best friends with Kyle Shanahan, and Jordan Mason, shut up. You just be happy with whatever you get. You could average 12 yards a carry more than Deebo Samuel. They're going to be splitting carries. And Christian McCaffrey could average 3 yards a carry. He's getting 19 because Kyle Shanahan is a bad coach. He can't even get the players right. His offense stinks. His play calls suck. Just ask Jimmy Garoppolo. He can't figure out who his best players are, and he can't hold a lead or hire a defensive coordinator, although you can't blame Nick Sorensen for this one. Sala and D'Amico were good, but that was a while ago. His offense was awful. He was going against a bad defense, a legitimate bad defense. One of the worst defenses in the league statistically. The Niners scored 17 points and averaged less than 5 yards a play. My dad's watching. Fewer than 5 yards per play. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, UCLA. Sorry, English language. That's not good. Who's he going to blame for this one? Brock? Injuries? Oh, he didn't have George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, so everything fell apart. Well, you still had Jawan Jennings, who's incredible, Jordan Mason, who you don't want to use. You had guys, you just didn't use them. After the game, he rushed into the post-game press conference, which made me feel like whatever he said to the team afterward was like 30 seconds or less. I'd love to see if the Niners post it. I doubt they will. He was in that post-game press conference so freaking fast, I hadn't even finished posting my walk-through tunnel instant analysis. I usually have 10 minutes after that just waiting around twiddling my thumbs. I'm a twiddler. Today he marches in trying to beat me to the punch, and he did. That's a guy who probably didn't have much to say. Hey, guys, you messed up. It's not my fault. Let's get him next week. One thing you could always say about Kyle's team is that they believed in him. I don't even know if he believes in himself anymore. This guy has lost whatever aura he ever had. No one's scared of Kyle Shanahan anymore. No one's scared of Kyle Shanahan anymore. So let's talk about replacing Kyle Shanahan. If the Niners make the playoffs somehow, maybe he keeps his job. But if he misses the playoffs, and it looks like they just might, who should they get to replace him? Unless you think he should get a 9th try. Unless you think his stock could go back up at some point. Well, everyone's looking at Ben Johnson. He's a hell of a coach. He's doing a great job with the Lions. Probably would do a better job with the 49ers. He's never been a head coach. He's younger than Kyle. But, man, he's clearly the number one offensive coordinator in the league. His team is putting up oodles and oodles of points. Why would you not want that guy? It's the same reason the Niners hired Kyle 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? Here's the thing, though. My voice cracked. I'm 36 years old. My voice cracks. Here's the thing, though. If the Niners fire Kyle Shanahan, as they should, will they necessarily be the number one job opening for a head coach? Like, let's say, for example, the Bengals also missed the playoffs and they fire Zach Taylor, who's frankly a terrible coach. Like he's in the Kyle Shanahan realm of overrated coaches, although no one knows who Zach Taylor is. If the Bengals have an opening and the Niners have an opening and Ben Johnson gets to choose, should I go hitch my career to Joe Burrow or Brock Purdy? What do you think he's going to choose? I mean, I would go with Burrow. Nothing against Purdy. A little against Purdy. I mean, you're not Burrow. Burrow's an elite quarterback with a bad coach. That's the way I would look at it. So what's kind of bleak for the 49ers is if they want to start over, they may not necessarily be looked at as the team they were a couple of years ago. Best roster, Super Bowl shoo-in. It's an old roster. There's a lot of injuries. Christian McCaffrey doesn't look anything like he looked in the past. Brock Purdy's regressing. At least his numbers are. Nick Bosa's not seriously injured, but injured. I don't know. Niners going to have to figure out what the move is for the future. Is it replacing Kyle and bringing in Ben Johnson? Can you get him? Is it keeping Kyle and keeping John Lynch, but bringing in a general manager who actually knows what he's doing and won't spend 3 first-round picks on a quarterback they won't play and then trade for nothing? Who won't just give away extensions to the oldest players in the team because they vacation together? I mean, maybe that would be fair, right? If they don't make the playoffs, I'd fire them. But bare minimum, you bring in a strong general manager who would not just give away hundreds of millions of dollars to older players in the team because they have a bond. That's got to end. You got to bring in someone who will cut players like Kyle Juszczyk. Not to take a gratuitous shot at a guy who may have gotten a concussion today, but he's on the team for one reason. He's friends with Kyle. Deebo Samuel on the team for one reason. Friends with Kyle. The whole Kyle friend exemption thing's got to go. Killing the culture of this team. If the Niners are hard-pressed to find a replacement for Kyle Shanahan this year, I volunteer. I'll do it. I'll do it for a couple $1 million a year. I think I'd be really good. But I think they could probably find someone better, more experienced. Certainly more experienced, although what prepares someone to be a head coach better than quality control? You tell me. Mr. Cut 4, new member, thank you. Thanks for becoming a member. Brother Bob, anti-Kyle Levy says has been a member for 18 months. Thank you very much. Be putting out some members-only content soon. Already did last week. Dave Barkley says, how long have I been saying it, G? Lyle gotta go. What about me? Brother Bob says, cook Kyle Levy's buns, bro. Love that he admitted he reads your articles, but he clearly has no reading comprehension. His offense is horrible. He's trash. Dave Barkley has agreed. Cocky for no reason. Get gone. Fernando, new member. Fernando. Fish and Chips, been a member for 15 months. I love you guys. Ezio Sanchez. This stream's about to do numbers. Hire Ben Johnson. I hate yogurt. I love yogurt. Says, about time you're on, bro. Couldn't take another minute of Larry jumping through hoops to defend Kyle. Man, get off them. Wow, is he? We're going to have to talk about that on Cohn and Kruger. Moonman says, Kyle was trash. D is 2 points against under 2 minutes. Kyle is trash. Matt McEwen. Purdy is mid. Kyle mid. Can we do a draft package with Kyle and Purdy? Could you trade both of them? How many first-round picks would you get trading both of them together? Nassim says, Nick Bosa leaves the game. All of a sudden, it's Mahomes back there for Seattle, yet everyone had something to say about Bosa not producing. True. Sorry, Nick, and sorry, Gino. Gino actually played really well down the stretch. Gregory Young says, time to move on from Kyle. He's out of ideas. He burned draft picks, played the Cabo click, and lost the locker room. The league has figured out Kyle, even a subpar D of Seattle can beat us now. Preach. Ivan Tina says, who gonna get Debo to lock in? I think it's not a locking in issue. Austin says, Grant, I have faith that you could coach this team better than Kyle. You are a great writer, and I love your content. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Joey says, we can't fire Kyle Grant. He's a goat at being the greatest joke artist. He can't get out of his own damn way. Pathetic. Dave Barclay says, I feel like I'm in a twilight zone. I've been screaming for years how Lyle is, but he thinks he's awesome and no one has enough cojones to say anything. Kyle is garbage in case you can't figure out. Lyle. Fish and Chips says post-game press too weak on Kyle Shanahan, scared of him. Why? Because he embarrasses you if you... They saw what happened to me on Friday. They don't want that. They don't want the smoke. Who wants the smoke? But then I get the smoke and people say I want attention. Adrian Garcia says, just saw your grades video. I think Purdy's been playing well in spite of Kyle's bad play calling, which is something Jimmy never could. Not perfect as a quarterback, but definitely a franchise quarterback. Love the show. Well, we can talk about that. That's definitely a good discussion to have. Dave Barclay says, biggest issue, Lyle playing friends over talent. Leeds United says, the sad truth, Kyle will be here next year. Even though we are not getting that last wild card spot, nobody wants to read the sign of the wall. Get him out of here. He will never adjust. Not here. Post-game needs Lowell Cohn attitude injected, said Fish and Chips. Agree. Nathan Flores, 17 points in 4 quarters. What a genius, Kyle. Kittle is out, and that's how you play. Detroit put up 30.5. Offense killing themselves with penalties. They didn't have their tight end either, did they? The Rock's jockstrap, wow, says, how does ownership feel? Just gave him a contract. Probably not great. Brandon Graham says, Kyle holding the last time out when his defense was gassed and not set for a hurry-up is inexcusable. Another on the long list of Kyling. Good call. I missed that one. JVG says Tabor should have slapped Debo and told him to play better. Agree. Santos Camacho III says Kyle looks tired and worn like his offense. He looks burnt out. Dave Barclay says John York on grounds again tomorrow. I hope so. I don't think John York is saving this one. Dave Barclay says, anyone want to coach the squad with no money left? I do. Senor Elver Galarraga says, can we get the Diddy tapes on Kyle and ship him out already? Boy. Whew. Dan Serrano says, face it, Kyle has lost the locker room. Gotta go. Ricardo Vega says, please be our coach, Grant. I love you. I love you too, Ricardo. Diego V818 says, do you think we sign? I ain't saying it. Dave Barclay says, GS, I'm quick. Can't get that past me. GS supports you for head coach. Let's go, brother. Thank you, Dave. Mass Martyr, member for 22 months. Thank you, Mass Martyr. Nathan Flores, member for 38 months. Can Debo and Kyle lock in? Offense wasn't it. 17 points. Gerard Bell, $5. Xavier, offense only moves when Purdy takes off in a run or scrambles for his life and finds someone who shakes free. True. Michael McCann says there are guys on this team still in, but I believe Kyle lost at least part of his locker room. Also, Moody should have taken a shot at Tebow this time. Jared Bell says that DeForest Buckner trade looks even crazier now. True. Xavier says, why is every route 10, 15 yards downfield? Because Kyle's a genius. Good question. Ivan GR says, thank you, Grant. You and Coach, only ones who keep it real out of these personas. I can't stand Kyle. Dumb face. Hope to shake your hand one day. Me too, Ivan. About the hand thing. Fish and Chip says, where was Salty Samuel after the game? Who cares? Ivan GR says, once again, Jimmy G was right. Jimmy G was right. Jimmy G wasn't good per se, but one of his famous last words with the Niners were looking at Kyle on the field and saying, your plays fucking suck, man. Well, that was right before Kyle Shanahan traded for Christian McCaffrey. And suddenly when he had McCaffrey, his plays didn't suck anymore. But now McCaffrey isn't McCaffrey. Let's talk about McCaffrey. Look, the good news for Christian McCaffrey is that his Achilles tendons are intact. He has not ruptured an Achilles tendon. The bad news for Christian McCaffrey is that he looks absolutely washed. Maybe he'll all come out of it. But if you look at his face in the post-game press conference, he looked like he had seen a ghost, and the ghost was the ghost of his career. I mean, he looks like his brain is telling him to do certain things on the field, and he can't do them. And I don't know that it's rust. May not be rust. It may just be age. It may be the accumulation of wear and tear. He's run the ball. He's had more touches than, he's probably had more. I look it up, but I bet he's had more touches than Derrick Henry. This guy's 200 pounds. Go and watch Christian McCaffrey's post-game press conference. He looks stricken. He isn't a particularly effective ball carrier right now. He's not breaking tackles. He's not making people miss. As a receiver, he's a competent checkdown guy. He had that nice catch over his shoulder in Tampa, but he's not winning you games. He's not scoring touchdowns. He's not scaring anyone. And they just gave him an extension. They made him the highest paid running back in the league, and he's got guaranteed money next year too. Yikes. The good news is that Jordan Mason's still on the team. The bad news is that Jordan Mason will be a free agent next year, and to keep him, they'll have to give him a lot of money, and they can't because they gave McCaffrey a lot of money, and you can't spend a lot of money on 2 running backs, let alone really 1. Shouldn't. So they invested in the older running back who's on the way down, and they're going to lose the young running back who's ascending. That sucks. And, I feel like the defining characteristic of this team is just straight up denial. All offseason, 800 holdouts, injuries, guy gets shot, and Niners are like, it's fine. We're fine. We've been through this before. No problem. No problem. We could have a million holdouts. We could have nothing but drama. None of our players have to go to training camp. It doesn't matter. We've done this before. We're fine. And then they beat the Jets week 1. People said the vibes were, every time they had one little win, they would gloat about it. I guess we're back. Then they lose to the Vikings. Yeah, no big deal. We face them in Santa Clara. We'll beat them. And every time they fell short or they didn't play that hard, that well, they didn't reach their standard, they'd be like, Christian's coming back. It'll be fine. Who cares? All you got to, it's a gritty, grimy season. Just got to survive. Just got to find a way. And they did, right? Like you were hearing people say, 5-4 and Christian's coming back and here they're going to go on a run. That's putting a lot of pressure on Christian. And he can't deliver like that right now. He could be maybe like part of an effort, but not the tip of the spear. And he knows it. And now they know it. And they look like a team that knows they're dead. The ace up our sleeve is a 4. 4 of clubs. We looked at it wrong. We just took a peek at the card in our sleeve. It looked like an A, but it's a 4. And Kyle's out of ideas. The last good idea Kyle Shanahan had was trade for Christian McCaffrey. That was the last good idea he had. That was 2 years ago. There's no more trade he can make. I'll give him a good idea. If he plays his best players down the stretch, he just might make the playoffs. But between you and me, he won't. You see Kyle Shanahan looking in the mirror, honestly adjusting and being like, Christian, love you, buddy. You ain't what you used to be. You're not all the way back. You're splitting carries with Jordan Mason going forward. Otherwise, we're going to miss the play. You think Kyle's going to make that adjustment? Raise your hand right now. If you in your living room, in your bedroom, with your wife sitting there looking at you, looking at your phone. Yeah, look crazy. Raise your hand if you think Kyle's going to make that adjustment. I'm not raising my hand. He will continue to give Christian McCaffrey 19, 20, 21 carries a game, no matter how washed Christian McCaffrey is. And I'm not trying to be rude. This is what happens to running backs when they have a ton of touches. So if the Niners thought Christian was going to save him this year, he's not. And now we got to talk about Brock Purdy. This has not been the season he needed. He's going into a massive contract negotiation in 4 months? This is not what he needed. Now, we could say it's not his fault. Kyle's doing him no favor. This is true. We talked about it with Kurt Banker. Man, they can't pick up a blitz. He can't set the protections. He can't change the route. Still, I'm not in the business of making excuses. And if he wants to make $65 million a year or $45 million a year or $35 million a year, he's got to play better. Because no matter what he does, it's going to be hard for him to escape the shadow of Jimmy Garoppolo. Because we know the Jimmy G story. We know how it went. We know how it ended. He went to a Super Bowl. He lost. He put up good numbers. He got a lot of money. He wasn't good enough. He slowly declined. Kyle Shanahan held him back? Sure. Do Kyle plays suck? Yeah. But then Jimmy left and went to the Raiders and was a disaster. So I'm looking at Brock this year. He's doing some good things. Man, he can run. 8 yards a carry today. He's like Kyler Murray out there. He's so quick. I've never seen anyone really get a flush shot on him either when he's running. Like, he's elusive. he takes these grazing shots. He slides. He's quick. He makes guys miss. He's a hell of a runner. Really hard worker. Cerebral. He might be the smartest quarterback in the league if he were allowed to use his brain, but you're not allowed to do that. Only Kyle can use his brain because it's smarter. It's bigger. But just purely as a passer, just throwing the ball. He's got 13 touchdowns and 8 picks this year. So he's on pace for 22 touchdowns and 13 picks this year. Now, like, Patrick Mahomes could do that, and I'd be like, I don't care. He's going to win the Super Bowl. Doesn't matter. I care what Brock Purdy's numbers are. He has a lot of, it's not like he's throwing to Juju Smith-Schuster. No. He's got Juwan Jennings and Christian McCaffrey, who's still a good receiver. Now, Deebo Samuel's washed. My God. But like, okay, I made a lot of excuses for Purdy today. He deserved them. Kyle did him no favors. But let's compare him and Geno. No one respects Geno Smith, although I think Niner fans do a little bit more today because of the dichotomy between him and Purdy. Each one had an opportunity to end the game with the ball in their hands. Brock first. Brock's winning. Close the game, Brock. 2nd and 11. Deebo over the middle, running a crossing route one-on-one. If the ball was chest high out in front where you're supposed to throw the ball, where an accurate quarterback would throw, where Drew Brees would put it, where Jared Goff would put it, that's a first down. Where did Purdy put it? 5 yards over Deebo's head. You know who else would miss in that exact spot? James Richard Garoppolo the first. It's almost like before Purdy threw the pass, he said, Jimmy, and then missed it high by 5 feet. So it's like, do you love Brock Purdy's story? Yes. Do you love his demeanor and leadership and football IQ and mobility? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do you love him as a passer? No, I don't. Now, if Ben Johnson were the coach here, would he be putting up Jared Goff numbers? Maybe. Although Goff is more accurate than Purdy. Goff has a stronger arm. Let's talk about Purdy's arm. This is the issue. I mean, people always talk about his arm strength. Yeah, we know it's not that strong, but you can work around a lack of arm strength. What's alarming to me with Purdy is his accuracy. He's not that accurate. His ball placement is not elite. It's okay. And his misses sometimes are wild. Such is why I feel like as a passer, he's Purdy G. I'm sorry. Like, what context am I missing here? Jimmy Garoppolo put up these numbers with freaking Jeff Wilson Jr. I don't know. I'm not saying trade Purdy. I'm not saying Purdy sucks. I still think Purdy's good, but his numbers this season aren't. And if the Niners give him $45 million this season, they're bidding against themselves. No other team. There's no market for Purdy like that. You don't get to have one great season and then have a follow-up where you go, 9-8, 8-9, maybe worse, and have not even have a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, and teams are going to say, boom, $60 million a year. No, you were the last pick in the draft. You had one great year. You couldn't follow it up. Was it Kyle's fault? Maybe. So fire Kyle, bring in another coach, and then evaluate Brock. You don't have to give him an extension because he's eligible for one. That's how you ended up giving $30 million a year to Ayuk. If the Niners could wave a magic wand and make that go away, would they? Yes. Ayuk is a guy who had one excellent season and got paid for it. Thank goodness the Niners were able to see this year from Brock before giving him something that's like 2 or 3, 2+, more than 2 times more expensive than Ayuk. I'm not trying to rub it in on Purdy, but I don't want to take sides on the Purdy Shanahan finger point-a-thon. I'm on neither one side. I'm against both of them. I'm on my side. Kyle's got to go. Brock doesn't have to go, but Brock doesn't deserve a pat in the back for making a few plays in a game where he scored 17 points and lost to Geno. Geno made more plays than Brock today. I want to publicly apologize to Geno Smith. I've been ridiculing this man mercilessly since he got to Seattle. He's a solid quarterback. And really, once Bosa went down, all of a sudden he was starting to play with some confidence, right? I always wondered why he played like the least confident quarterback I've ever seen against the Niners. He seems like probably legitimately, I don't want to use the word scared, but apprehensive about Bosa's presence on the field. Understandable. That guy could hit you really hard and hurt you. But once he was gone, Geno Smith wasn't scared of man. Let's do some sleeper picks because it's the sleeper time. Did you know that? Sleeper time. Thank you, Sleeper, for sponsoring my channel. Okay, NFL. Monday Night Football, Houston, Dallas. Oh, Dallas. Good team. Can we get, is there Trey Lance? Trey Lance. Come on. No. That really chaps my hide. Okay, CJ Stroud. 238 and a half passing yards. Does that mean Nico Collins going to play? Okay. If Nico Collins coming back, then I'm going over for Stroud against Dallas because Dallas is horrendous. Joe Mixon. Will he score a touchdown? I'm going to say yes because that seems to be his pattern. Cooper Rush. Man, he's terrible. 177 and a half passing. No, you're terrible. The worst quarterback named Cooper in the league by far. Rico Dowdle, the best running back named Rico in the league. 52 and a half rushing yards. No, despite him being a great Rico, which is a hell of a name. Jake Ferguson, Micah Parsons. 2 sacks last game. Yeah, you'll have a sack. Sure. Why not? Ezekiel Elliott. Hell no. You won't score a touchdown. Hell to the nah. Who is this? Oh, I thought it was Chris Carson for a second. I'm like, he's not in the league anymore. Nico Collins. Touchdown. Anytime. Yeah. He's going to use those anytime minutes. I'm locking it in. I'm flexing it. Pause. There it is. Download the app. Use promo code Cohn. Get entered to win a signed Ricky Pearsall jersey. None of your friends have that. Only I do, and I'm trying to give it to you. Okay, more people who were washed. Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel almost needs to get benched at this point. What is he doing? How is he helping? He had 7 targets today, and those 7 targets produced 22 yards. That's about 3 yards a target. That's hard to do because it's so bad. Then as a runner, he rushed 1 time for -1 yards. So now I guess they had to play him because Jacob Cowan got hurt and Brandon Ayuk's out. But at this point, he's probably the most overpaid player on the team. Him and Juszczyk. But he makes 5 times what Juszczyk makes. In the past, he had a very unique skill set, and you'd be like, all right, well, he doesn't run a full route tree, and he doesn't have the biggest catch radius. He'll drop a pass, but like, man, there's so many things you can do with him, right? He's the best screen receiver, and you can put him at running back. Not anymore. I was doing a pregame stream with Hawk Blogger. He was asking me questions about the Niners, and he was like, so what's going on with Deebo? I'm like, well, he's washed. He doesn't break tackles anymore. He's not a threat. Like, no one's scared. He was like, what are you talking about? He always has a great game against the Seahawks. I'm like, yeah, because you don't cover him. He had a 75-yard touchdown against the Seahawks in Seattle because they literally didn't cover him on the play. All you have to do to stop Deebo, secret, earmuffs. Here's how you stop Deebo Samuel. Cover him. Put a defensive back in front of him. Done. He's out. tell you one thing. If the Niners fire Kyle Shanahan after this year or trade him, one or the other, the new guy who comes in, we'll get rid of Deebo Samuel and Kyle Juszczyk. First thing. They got to go. You make too much money. You play too much to do a whole lot of nothing. That's what Deebo did today. A whole lot of nothing. Not a little bit of nothing. A gargantuan amount of nothing. Remember, it used to be like when the Niners lose Deebo, they can't do anything on offense. They can't do anything on offense if they have Deebo. Kittle, on the other hand, George Kittle really is the MVP of this offense. A few months ago, me, Jesse Naylor, and the coach were having an argument. Who's the most irreplaceable player on the Niners offense? Coach and I said Kittle. Naylor said McCaffrey. We all made phenomenal points. For a long time, it looked like Jesse was right. We saw what the fall off was when McCaffrey was out. But now we see what the fall off is when Kittle's out. And first thing that goes, the running game. The Niners can run the ball without McCaffrey because the backup is actually a better runner than McCaffrey at this point. They can run the ball fine without McCaffrey if Kittle's playing because Kittle's their best blocker. As soon as Kittle is out, so is their running game. It's gone. It's a run first team, play action second. So everything falls apart when Kittle's out. In addition, Kittle cannot be covered by a linebacker. You have to put a safety on Kittle. Have to. Which means you can't have that safety double a wide receiver. You can't put him on McCaffrey. You got to put him on Kittle. So he greatly improves not just the running game, the passing game too, and he's their red zone offense. Unfortunately, he's 31 and he gets hurt from time to time. Not that he gets hurt from time, he gets hurt all the time. He misses games from time to time. To his credit, he's extremely tough. But he gets hurt all the time because he's 31. But salute to George Kittle. Hall of Fame player, all-pro season. If they don't have him next week, they're losing again. And they could lose with him next week. But that's how freaking important he is right now. And then there's Bosa. So Bosa comes into the game with a hip injury. And I don't know about you, but they called it like a hip pointer. Didn't they call it a hip pointer, right? Am I wrong? Someone verify that for me, please. I'm the journalist. I should do it myself. I believe Kyle said the initial injury for Bosa a couple weeks ago was a hip pointer. Suffered it in practice. Doesn't sound that bad. I know it sounds painful, but not something that could get worse. Plays through it last week, Kittle, and then Bosa's like, man, that was really the most painful thing I've ever played for. Really? Hip pointer. Okay. Hey, I've never had one. But it feels like we're not getting the full story here. Then he injures the other hip today, and he goes on personally and tells the sideline reporter, well, it's an oblique injury. Oh. Then he goes to his post-game press conference and says, the other one was an oblique injury too. It wasn't, it's a hip injury in the sense that the oblique is located near the hip, but it's an oblique injury, which is something that absolutely can get worse. And now he's got two. And he may not play next week. And I'll tell you something, if he doesn't play against the Packers, they're going to lose. Again, they could lose with Nick Bosa. But if he doesn't play next week in Green Bay, they're going to lose. You saw what their defense looked like without him today? Awful. So I don't know if he'll play next week. It didn't sound great. I'm not going to guess. It wouldn't be a very educated guess. We'll see if he plays. I want to talk about how the Niners report injuries. Once again, they don't tell us the full truth. It's a hip injury. Oh, actually, it was his oblique. But they're connected. That's what they did with McCaffrey, too. It's a calf injury. Actually, it's both of his Achilles tendons. This is why I don't believe anything the Niners say. I feel like a journalist's job is when you hear A, you question it. Someone tells you A and you think, well, does that mean B? What are they really trying to tell me? Just because they told me A doesn't mean they're trying to tell me A. What did I really hear today? That's what I don't understand about certain people who cover teams. I don't want to call out anyone by name, but there's one person who is pretty famous in the way they praise this team. I don't get it. Anyway, I don't get to it. But it's like if you're just like a stenographer, I come to work, the Niners talk, I write it down, I tell the people on X and YouTube, this is what the Niners said, and they're always right. Like, they lie to us all the time. They keep us on a need-to-know basis, and we're not in the loop. They didn't want people to know that Nick Bosa had an oblique injury, so they didn't tell us. What else are they not telling us? Doesn't feel like a team that's... Is this team going to make the playoffs? How about let's finish there? Is this team going to make the playoffs? Let's look at the standings. Conference standings. The Niners are currently the 10 seed. They're last in their division behind Seattle and the Rams. To win the division, they're not, Arizona's 6-4. They got an easy schedule coming up. So the Niners need to take a spot from Washington or Green Bay. Minnesota won again today. They're making the playoffs most likely. They're 8-2. Green Bay 7-3. Washington 7-4. So they kind of have to beat Green Bay. They lose to Green Bay next week. They're 5-6. They could possibly make the playoffs, but how? Who's gonna drag him there? I love Jawan Jennings, but in his biggest games, the Niners lose. I'm not saying he's the reason, but he can't carry them to victory. He can't. McCaffrey can't anymore. As well as Kittle's been playing this year, they were 5-4? No, what were they? They're like 500 of them on the field. I'm sorry, I'm bad at math and remembering things. And then if Bosa misses time with this oblique injury, I think their defense is cooked. And I just want to know, how is the narrative of this season going to change? Because throughout the bye week, the narrative was, it doesn't matter what's happening right now. Forget how mediocre to bad the Niners have looked. We know who they are deep down inside. We've seen it in the past. Wait for the bye week. They'll regroup. They'll get Christian back, and they're going to go on a run. That's not who this team is. If you forget about the past and judge this team based only on what they've done this year, you'd have to admit they're not a good team in any way. I don't give a damn what their offensive DVOA is or whatever. You can find whatever stats, whatever excuses, but the narrative of this season is the Niners are going down, and they just realized it today. It was right in front of our faces since training camp. And they just finally stared their mortality in the face today. And it was terrifying to them. For the first time, Kyle Shanahan understood that his job is on the line. Look at his face in the post-game press conference. He lost all composure. He couldn't be in there and out of there fast enough. No, this team is not going to make the playoffs this year. They might win a few more games. They might not, though. Let's say Bosa misses. They'll lose to Green Bay. They lose to Buffalo. You might be, but at that point, 5-7. They're going to be 5-7 in 2 weeks, which means they would have to win out essentially after that. Maybe they will, man. Maybe they will. But if they don't, I know a way the Niners could get 2 first-round picks next year to sort of shake things up, start a little rebuild, a little reload. 2 first-round, trade Kyle. Who would trade 2 first-round picks for Kyle Shanahan? Which sucker could we take advantage of here? Raiders? The Raiders always are. They could be the Raiders. They might want Kyle. They wanted Jimmy. Maybe they'll go for Kyle. 2 first-round picks. The Raiders would be number 1 on my list. We're thinking terrible franchises that don't understand what's going on. Check the chat. Chat, what do you guys think? Where could the Dallas, Raiders, Dallas. Okay, now we're thinking. Help me out. Jacksonville. Send them to Jacksonville. I'd love them. They would freaking love Kyle Shanahan and Duval. The Jets. I like that. The Panthers. There are teams out there that would trade multiple first-round picks. Some of these teams with top 10 picks for Kyle. Do that. You could have an upgraded coach next year and 2 first-round picks, courtesy of Kyle. It's the least he could do after burning 3 first-round picks on fire, metaphorically, by trading for Trey Lance and never developing him. It's the least he could do. On the way out, can you recoup some of that draft capital that you threw away? Please. New England? The Giants? Don't you think that my voice keeps cracking? I'm 14 years old. Don't you think the Giants would love Kyle Shanahan? No, I want Kyle Shanahan to go to the Giants. Let me tell you why. He thinks he's got it tough with the Bay Area media. Let me tell you something. We're not that tough. I'm not that tough. I would sincerely enjoy, I would tune in to watch him coaching the Giants, doing press conferences with those reporters. Please, God, if there's one thing I want to see Kyle Shanahan have to deal with that. Robert Saleh did. Let's see what you got, Kyle, man. Condescend to all those writers in New York. See how that goes. I'd love to see it. Please, please. Kyle the Giants. Is it too much to ask? It'd be great. He deserves it. New York deserves it. America deserves it. Maybe he would win a Super. A lot of people feel Kyle Shanahan's going to win a Super Bowl eventually. I think he'll do it for the Giants. Him and Daniel Jones. I think that's all Daniel Jones needs is a little Kyle action. Pause. That came out wrong. So that's what I hope. A guy can dream. Baby Radiance, I have a lot of super chats to get through, and I'm going to talk at two times speed. Baby Radiance says, Niners always lose when JJ has a great game. Thank you very much. Diego V818 says, 17-point Kyle, fire emoji. True. Last Sports says, Purdy better than Herbert, and Shanahan better than Harbaugh. Laughing emoji. I can really talk at 2 times speed, can't I? I can. Raquel Flores says, you better lock in, bro, or Debo will choke you, LOL. LOL. Brother Bob says, cook that Shanahan. Shan. Okay. Kyle Levy Lover on Wednesday. Cooked. Matt McEwen says, Jesse, you know what? That triggers me. Damn it. I love when people start talking to each other, conversing via super chat. Suki Pazuki says, what's your employer's take on the Kyle Grant beef? I don't know. Think it's pretty common in sports. The coach who's having a bad season gets mad at a media guy. I just have to be professional. Like, I couldn't scoff and cut him off the way he scoffs and cuts me off. I have to maintain professionalism. Rafael Flores says CMC needs to be the 3rd running back and JP the bell cow. True. Also, make Jacob a slot receiver or X. Put Debo on return duty. Shyla Q says, did you see how Kyle tried to blame it on Purdy when his running average was better than McCaffrey? Bro, he needs to run Mason. Yeah, I asked about that. I set him up for that. Well, what'd you think of Purdy out there? Some good, some not so good. Oh, okay, good. So C. Dave Barclay says, if they canned Lyle and did hire UG, what are the first 5 moves on day 1? Cutting, promoting, firing, watching old film. What is your course of action like a political debate? Why you need $10 million? Well, I'm for sure hiring Tom Walsh, friend of the show. He's going to be my offensive coordinator, or who I'll actually call the plays, be the general manager. I'm going to do everything, but he will be my senior advisor assistant head coach. You know what I'm saying? Bringing in George Seifert. He's not doing anything. Mike Holmgren, he's not doing nothing. Jeff Garcia is my quarterback coach for sure. Unless Alex Smith wants to do it. No, I want Jeff. Debo got to go. Juszczyk got to go. I don't know. Let me think about that one. I like that. Let me take that more seriously in the future. Matt McEwen. Have we beat a team with a winning record? No. Michael McCann. CMC will be the greatest agent in the league when he retires after finding a way to fleece the Niners on an extension, all while hiding 2 blown-out tires. Niners should have kicked those tires, huh? Ricardo Vega says, any chance we can vote to get you out of there to be our coach somehow? I was there tonight. I love crying after the game, not going to lie. Let me put out a poll right now on Twitter. I'll do it right now. Hold on. Who should be the Niners coach next season? Forget next season, just like now. Kyle Shanahan. Hold on, I'm gonna get this right. Me. Okay. Who should be the Niners coach? Kyle Shanahan, choice 1. Me, choice 2. Tweet. It's a poll. Let's see what happens. This is a very scientific procedure, and whoever wins this poll will be the Niners coach tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Brother Bob says Dave Grant would cut juice first, LOL, then Bren Hell. Bobo says Kyle responsible for the defense issues too. Why through 4 different coordinators we still can't contain the quarterback? Maybe that wide 9 thing doesn't really help. If you want to constrict a quarterback in a pocket, maybe widening out the defensive line doesn't help. Let's start an online petition to fire LL, hire G. LL, I like LL Cool J. Fish and Chip says, Grant, you just don't understand. Come on, man. I just don't understand. Niners need to lock in, says Brian Culp. All day, every day. Kim says, Gino looked better when it counted the most. He did. And Purdy didn't. Dave Barkley says, I feel like Wilkes and Salah are getting the last laugh. You think? Man, Senor Elver Galarraga says, bring back Ty Streets, Mike Rumpf, Cody Pickett, and Andre Carter. Hell yeah. Professor Lawless, member for 31 months. Thank you, Professor. Matt McEwen, elite quarterbacks ice the game, mids throw it away. Johnny C. Iggy Jed blocked me, so I have to ask if he said to tweet yet. Please advise. I don't think he has. Matt McEwen says, Purdy is a more mobile Jimmy G, slightly better decision maker. Yeah, Fish and Chip says, Jimmy could be the new audible call, not can. Jimmy. Andrew Hale, thank you. Andrew Hale again, thank you. Andrew Hale again. Grant is the world's biggest beta, talking about alphas. Grant never put on pads in his 5'5", 150-pound life. Okay. But you gave me $15 because you didn't know how super chats work. And the first 2, you just gave it to me without putting anything in there. And it took you 3 opportunities to figure out how to call me a beta. So who's beta? Andrew. Dave Barclay says, Debo had 3 years, 2019-21, and his career's over. It's true. Dave Barclay says, some of the best info ever recorded is from betas. What an own. Ooh, you're a beta. Oh, I'm 5'5", 150 in my face. Yeah, that's me. Gregory Young says, everyone thought Goff was washed, and then a new coach put a strong team, including an O-line, and look at the results. We need coach that will give Purdy support, calls, and protection. Is this not Kyle? Dave Barkley says, because alphas do it, real alphas stand up for betas. Matt McEwen says, Andrew Hale is a Lombardi burner account. Dave Barkley says, okay, you got to be right, fake as people. Matt McEwen says, Grant, I want Kyle to coach the Jets. Bill Kennedy says, am I the only one that thinks Mason should have been grinding out yards and time on that last drive? Will you travel to GB Buffalo? Yes, and yes, and yes. Yes, I booked Buffalo today. My goodness. Jorge Alvarez says, need Grant's live reaction to Juice getting, that's didn't make me happy. Anthony says that this team is the definition of a toxic relationship. It's not working out, but people just trying to think of the good times. That's true. Dave Barclay says 7-10, sticking to it and doubling down. Teams torn. Nothing right there torn. They're all out of faith. I'm already torn. I like that song. Natalie Imbruglia. Yeah, that's right. I slap Natalie Imbruglia when I'm alone. Lying naked on the floor. That's me, listening to Natalie Imbruglia. Thinking about, I don't want to talk about it. Matt McEwen says, what's the reason we lose games, offense, defense, or special teams? The head coach. Oh, it's all of them. Dylan Peterson says, Cardinals may win the division and have $120 million in cap next season. How will the Niners keep up with them in the future for the division? Kyle has the answers, man. Don't worry about it. They're going to figure it out. Christian McCaffrey's coming back. Oh, he's back already. Kittle's coming back. Don't worry. Ever since they lost Greenlaw in the Super Bowl, the defense has been trash, says Peter M. Moss says, talk about how bad Devondre Campbell has been. He's horrible all year. When will he be benched? He's the least of their problems right now. CM Top Fly says, he's not the least of their problems. He's one of their problems. Can't wait for Kyle to get fired because it's going to happen. Trade him. He owes the Niners at least 3 first-round picks. Trade him. Check out Human Surfboard on the sidelines. Thoughts on Ben Johnson and us landing him? Get him. He might want to go somewhere else, though, like Cincinnati. Grant for head coach. That's right. You're beta Cohn now. Oh, man. Whew. First I was meat watcher Cohn, now I'm beta Cohn. I'm getting cooked. All right, let's see who's winning the poll about being the head coach of the Niners. Let's see. Me! Yes! 278 votes in. I have 68% of the votes, and Kyle Shanahan has 31. I accept. And what I'm going to do different is win more. It's my mission statement. Thank you very much. I am now the head coach of the 49ers. Thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be in Green Bay. I'll be in Buffalo. I am not going to miss this train wreck. I've been covering this team for 14 seasons, and I'm not about to miss the downfall of the Kyle Shanahan era. Not that I was praying on it, but now that it's here, I'm going to be there, taking notes and streaming, because that's what we do in 2024. Everyone, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you tomorrow.